Hey guys, welcome back. This is Court Chronicles over here, and today we have What if Deku's family had ties with the villains? Before we start, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, cause that's what keeps me going always. Alright, let's begin. Sir, if you could, please, Izuku said as he bowed. As he looked at the ground, he clenched his fist. The whole class was worried. They all looked at each other in confusion. What on earth is happening? Izuku, are you sure about this? You know what happened last time? Achiko asked. She's right, Izuku. Are you really sure? Shoto agreed. Keeping his head down, Izuku nodded. Yes, I'm sure. So please, pair me with Shinso. Now, everyone's eyes was on the boy with dark purple hair, who was the most shocked person there. Though his eyes are often half closed, at that moment, he couldn't stop them from widening. The teachers looked at each other in confusion. What's Izuku's goal in this? I should have known entertaining that idea was a bad idea, Shota said as he started walking towards the still bowing Izuku. He was giving off an intimidating aura and the students knew better to give way. Even from the start, you were illogical. Giving your best at the recommendations exam, then immediately backing down in your first test in class. But this, now Shota was right in front of Izuku, who was still bowing. This may be the most illogical decision you've ever made. Izuku winced. The sound of fast-moving cloth surrounded Izuku, and before he realized it, Shota was carrying him away from the group. Principal, please continue. I'm just going to have a word with Izuku. It didn't take 10 minutes before Aizawa-sensei returned with Izuku, who was now walking freely. When they came back, the pairs have already been announced and formed. The only ones who still haven't formed their pairs were Izuku, who just returned, Shinso, and the would-be partners of the two. Shota walked over to Nizu and whispered something to the principal. Nizu was first unsure, but after a while he was convinced. Izuku Midoriya and Shinso Hitoshi. Nizu called the two boys' names. You two will pair up and will face against Aizawa-sensei. Izuku clenched his fists and bowed like he did earlier. Thank you very much for considering. Shinso wanted to decline and voice his feelings. However, Izuku was in earshot, so he simply kept to himself. They just have to beat Aizawa-sensei. A few minutes before their test begins, Izuku took a deep breath, then breathed out. He had a serious look on his face. He took a few more deep breaths to help psych him up. Nearby him was Shinso, putting on his own mask. At this point, the purplet had already noticed his partner, drawing multiple slow breaths. Just what is this guy planning? He asked himself. Then a horrible memory popped into his head, making him grab his neck and check those hands weren't there. Shinso grimaced. He wasn't expecting him to be there. And he was most certainly not expecting Izuku to be his little brother. Those bandages saved him, but what about next time? The thought absolutely mortified him. After the sports festival, he felt as if he was always following him, watching his every move. He felt as if at any moment, his hands would wrap around his throat and disintegrate his very being. Making a deal with him was a mistake. So you want to be a hero? Shinso remembers their first meeting vividly. He was a fine-looking gentleman. His light blue hair was styled back, and he wore black clothes that was definitely made using the best fabric in the world. This was after the results of the entrance exam was out. As expected, Shinso failed to qualify for hero studies. All because his quirk wasn't one suited for combat against robots. All you have to do is to give me what I want when I say it. Of course, Shinso still wanted to get into UA's hero program with his own abilities. It wouldn't have been fair and he wouldn't have been satisfied otherwise. But it would still be difficult and he'll need help. Do we have a deal? So imagine his surprise when a spot opened in 1A because a student was found to have been sexually harassing his schoolmates in middle school and was expelled. It was definitely the work of that man he met. Now he has the chance to get into the hero program. Shinso clenched his fist. But now it's all for naught. When he finally got the chance to be a hero, he suddenly made a fatal mistake and hurt his little brother. It won't be long until he gets exposed as a traitor. He's definitely screwed the next time they meet. Those hands will definitely... Shinso flinched when a hand suddenly made its way to his shoulder. His eyes were wide and his face was pale. He slowly turned his head to the owner of the hand. He was definitely still horrified, but the sight quickly removed the tension he felt. The owner of the hand was wearing an awkward smile. It wasn't obvious at first, but it was definitely a smile that went through a lot of decision-making just to appear. It was a smile that would often appear after going through a lot of suffering. Shinso, the purplet, was shocked. This is probably the first time this person has spoken to him. Due to fear, he was sure. But his voice wasn't scared. It wasn't trembling at all. It just felt warm, almost the exact opposite as when he spoke to his older brother.
I'm sorry.
What? Shinso was confused. The truth is, I heard your conversation with Aizawa-sensei the other day, Izuku answered. Shinso frowned, but he wasn't mad, he was just confused. Why is he apologizing? I was walking back from the classroom when I heard it. You don't want to use your quirk anymore. All because of me. So I'm sorry. Izuku bowed down to the purplet. Shinso was taken aback by the actions of the greenette and he was left speechless. Actually, I went to talk with your former classmates from Class C about your quirk and the greenette straightened his posture and yelled, Shinso, you have an amazing quirk. Shinso's eyes widened. Brainwashing? Isn't that a villain's quirk? No way can you become a hero with that quirk of yours. The comments he's heard over the years echoed in his head. It's simply dash. It's truly amazing, Shinso. Izuku reiterated. We haven't spent much time together at all, and I'm to blame, so you may not know, but that's a lot coming from me. Izuku bit his lip. I don't know what happened back at the sports festival. Maybe we were just a bad match. Maybe those shadows were just an accumulation of all the quirk training I went through. Still, it was wrong of me to just close my mind off and ignore you. I was scared, but I didn't take into consideration that you might have been scared too. Izuku took a deep breath. As a hero, you wouldn't want to hurt anyone with your quirk. And my reaction scared you enough to make you want to stop using your quirk. No one should feel like they need to stop using their quirk like that. Izuku voiced his feelings. So, Shinso. Izuku stretched his hands out to the purplet. Right here, right now, will you cast aside your fear with me and team up together to beat Aizawa-sensei? This whole time, Shinso was in a state of shock. He wasn't expecting it at all. He was most definitely not expecting all this from his little brother. Shinso looked at the greenette's stretched out hand and sighed. He scratched the back of his neck and answered, Damn, you said so much. He accepted the greenette's hand, and the latter beamed. Fine, let's beat the hell out of our teacher, Shinso said with a smirk underneath his mask. Izuku laughed nervously. But not too much. I want to help Shinso. I want the two of us to get over our fears. Izuku's words echoed in Shota's mind as he sat on top of a utility pole just before the escape gate. That kid definitely has what it takes to be a hero, Shota thought. His brother, however, that man is Tamura Shigaraki. I'm certain of it. But if he is, then why would he let his brother become a hero? He certainly seems against it, so why let his brother go to UA? Is it to act as a spy? Not likely. During that first breach, he was responsible for calming down the student body, and in the process, he injured himself. He was also present during the attack at USJ. He even threw a punch at his own brother, like he was just another villain attacking. If he had disappeared during that attack, I would have concluded that he was a spy. Izuku definitely has no idea that Tamura is his brother, Shota thought. He's simply attending UA as a normal student. Shota stood up and looked around at the suburb-style training ground. /N. The one where Momo and Shoto faced Aizawa in the anime. Now then, let's see what type of strategy you two will come up with. He's right in front of our escape, Izuku reported as he looked out the window. Shinso was amazed at how the inside of the house looked like a real one, complete with furniture and appliances. Just how much is the school's annual budget? But more importantly, why does a rich kid like you know how to pick locks? Shinso asked. Izuku chuckled nervously. One of our servants actually taught me. So do you have some kind of plan? I assume you already have one since you plan to be paired off with me, Shinso asked as he walked nearer Izuku. Ha! Shinso frowned. Ha! What do you mean, ha? Izuku wore an awkward face and then he chuckled nervously. No way, don't tell me. I actually didn't think my plan will work. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. The truth is, even earlier, Before I finally had the courage to talk to you, I was still seeing those black things, those ghosts. Izuku explained. Ghosts, Even now, they're still here, but it's not as bad as they were before. Izuku immediately backed down. All I want to say is, I'm just glad we're on good terms now, Izuku said with a smile. Shinso, I'm glad we're friends. Shinso forced a smile underneath his mask. The atmosphere got awkward and it was silent for a minute until Izuku broke it. Right? Plan. Yes. Shota definitely plans to guard that escape no matter what. He knows both of the conditions for the quirks of the two heroes in training, and he also has more experience, so he has quite an advantage. According to Shinso, who trained under him during internships, going against him felt more like he was a toddler trying to beat an adult. However, Aizawa-sensei relies on his speed and agility to quickly subdue his opponents, but he's handicapped just for the test, so his speed and agility dropped. That's what Shinso and Izuku are counting on. Using power limb on his legs, Izuku jumped up from a roof towards their escape. Immediately, Shota noticed him. You're not getting past me that easily. He activated his quirk, which shrunk Izuku's legs. Then he threw him down to the ground. But he didn't expect the boy to grab onto his capture scarf and drag him down with him. The two of them managed to maneuver themselves and land fine. Then Izuku wrapped the cloth around his arm a couple of times to make sure his teacher can't leave. So he's gonna keep me here while Shinso escapes? Shota smirked. Don't think it'll be that easy to hold me here. Shota ran towards Izuku and sent a kick his way, only to be shocked when the boy easily deflected it by changing its direction using the palm of his hand. Izuku counterattacked with a kick of his own, which Shota narrowly avoided. On instinct, the latter immediately distanced himself. I definitely canceled his quirk, which means when he deflected my kick, that was all technique. Not to mention, unlike his usual fighting style, he actually sent a kick towards me. Shota thought, martial arts, huh? I see. So that's why you're the one facing me while Shinso escapes. Even without your quirk, you're still very capable. Shota smirked.
Trulli, plus ultra.
Izuku tightened his grip on the capture cloth. Shota let out a sharp breath before he charged towards the boy again. Now, with the knowledge that the Greenette is a skilled martial artist, he sent attacks without holding back. The pro hero and hero in training exchanged blow after blow. Izuku deflected Shota's attacks while Shota avoided Izuku's. In a span of a few seconds, the two had sent out dozens of attacks, none of which has landed on their intended targets. This whole time, Shota's eyes had been open, for two reasons. One was to see where Izuku would be attacking, and two, to cancel out the boy's quirk, because if the boy were to regain his quirk while they were exchanging blows, it would mean defeat for Shota. However, because of the injuries he acquired during the attack on USJ, the time Shota has to use his quirk decreased. And that was what the duo had been waiting for. As his hair was falling and before Shota could fully close his eyes, Izuku's lips moved, and in Izuku's voice, he heard, "It's our win, WH-." The last thing Shota saw before everything became hazy was Izuku's smirk. From behind a building nearby, Shinso appeared. "I can't believe you expected me to fight you during the sports festival when you're a martial artist," Shinso told the Greenette. Izuku chuckled as Shinso walked over to handcuff Aizawa-sensei. The truth is, their plan was never to have Shinso escape while Izuku was distracting Aizawa-sensei. Their plan was to capture him by using Shinsu's quirk to incapacitate him. The only way to do this was to trick him to think the former was their plan, and then surprise him at his most vulnerable state, as he's about to blink while exchanging blows with Izuku. After Recovery Girl announces their win, Shinso snapped their teacher out of his brainwashed state. The moment Shota returned to normal, he gave the two boys a proud smile. "You two did a great job." "And no way, we failed," exclaimed the four students on their knees and facing the ground. The four students were Achiko, Yuga, Denki, and Mina. "I can't believe it. I won't be going to the training camp."
Mina cried.
"Please, enjoy yourselves without me." "And no way. Out of everyone in our group, I'm the only one that failed?" Achiko was filled with dread. "It's okay, I guess. Leave the poor one out." "I hope you guys have a hard time," Denki cursed. "How cruel. Calm down and quit your antics." Shota's voice was commanding. The four students quickly got on their feet. "While it's good that no one failed the written tests, I'm disappointed that 4 failed the practicals," Shota told them. Which is why, Shota paused. Then he suddenly flashed his eerie smile. The four of you will be attending extra activities during the training camp. I hope you're ready because we will put you through hell and back.
No vallí.
We're still going, exclaimed the four failed students. Of course, Nizu answered. We simply said that failure would mean omission to push all of you to do your best. The entire 1A beamed. Of course, we expect no one informing Class B of the changes after this. Don't think we didn't know they shared info with you. Shota shot them down. Why yes, sir. The entire class answered. Hey, before we change to our uniforms, let's take a picture, Toru suggested. HM? Why? Shudo asked. Because it's the end of our first semester in Hero Studies. It's something that should be remembered. Come on. I even brought a camera. Toru explained. I think it's a great idea. Momo said. Me too. Izuku seconded. See, the prez and vice prez even said so. I'll set up the timer. Toru insisted. Izuku quickly grabbed his friends, Achiko, Tenya, Shudo, and the newest addition, Shinso. Shinso was at first surprised, but a smile from Izuku quickly dissipated his worries. All right, timer's up. 3, 2, 1. Cheese. From the door that leads to a room further into the hideout, out came Tenko without his mask and whose hair wasn't waxed as it usually would when the topic is business-related. Tamura Shigaraki. These are the 2 new recruits Jiren brought for today, Kurojairi stated. Tenko frowned at the caretaker. Like you said on the phone. He grumbled as he took his usual seat in front of the counter. Well then, aren't you going to introduce yourselves? Tenko said in an annoyed tone. Someone's having a bad day. The girl said in a tone that Tenko found annoying. My name is Himiko Toga. I think life is difficult, so I want to make the world a much easier place to live in. I idolize Stain a lot, and I want to become someone great like him, so please let me join. The suspect for the blood-draining serial murders, huh? Tenko said in his mind. He turned his attention on the other person, a man covered in burn scars, and in an annoyed tone he referred to him. And you? The man frowned, visibly irked by the man in front of him.
I'm sorry.
Is this supposed to be the Tamura Shigaraki? Son of the infamous All for One? A man capable of talking his way into the minds of villains? A man who will change the world? I'm sorry, but I'm unimpressed. The man professed. Tenko frowned and smirked. Well, I apologize for failing your expectations. I'm simply not in the state of mind at the moment to even try and impress someone who hasn't even accomplished anything in his life, like the failure that he is. The man restrained himself and simply replied, You're supposed to be inheriting Stain's will? Someone who gets irritated and easily sidetracked by what I can assume is something petty? You couldn't even make sure Stain remained awake. Tenko scowled. I never said I'm meant to inherit Stain's will. I'm inheriting my father's will. Not like I could say the same about you, Daddy's little failure. That last statement pushed the man over the edge. In a split second, he was in front of a now smirking Tenko. Blue flames surrounded the man's cocked back arm, but before he could deliver a blow, a portal appeared between the 2 men, courtesy of Kurojairi, preventing the attack from landing on Tenko. Please calm down, he told the man with burn scars. Tenko couldn't help but let out a laugh. All right, the 2 of you are in. I apologize for my behavior. I suppose I just needed to let off some steam. The man recomposed himself. Now, what was your name? I don't believe you actually introduced yourself, Tenko said in a semi-provoking tone. The man frowned. I assume you already know what it is, but from here on out, I would like to be referred to as Dabi, answered the man with burn scars. Tenko simply grinned. Well then. Tenko stood up. Now that that's out of the way, walking past Himiko and towards a black jacket, he asked, Kurojairi, where's our little pet roaming today? He should be in the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall, buying items he needs for their boot camp. Kurojairi answered, then a portal opened. Tenko, now wearing the black jacket, put on the hood and grabbed something from behind the counter. Hope you 2 enjoy your stay, Tenko gleefully said to the new recruits as he left through the portal. At the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall, the entire class of 1A, minus Katsuki and Shudo, had split up into smaller groups to buy their specific needed supplies. One of these smaller groups were Izuku and Shinso. Izuku, aren't you going to buy supplies? I noticed you haven't bought anything yet. Shinso asked. Izuku shook his head. Not really. Our servants already ran the errand earlier this morning. I'm just here to spend more time with our classmates. Oh? How sweet of you. Izuku just chuckled nervously, making Shinso smile. They continued to walk when Shinso suddenly remembered, Hey, Izuku, what about those ghosts? Are they still here? Shinsu's sudden question made Izuku stop in his tracks. Izuku looked shocked at first, and it took him a moment to answer. But when he did, he smiled. No, they're gone now. I just noticed it, but it seems the more I've stayed by your side, the less they've appeared. Shinso wasn't really expecting this answer. He smiled. I see. Glad to hear that. As they continued to walk around, Izuku caught the scent of coffee. He looked around for the origin of the amazing smell. Hey, that cafe looks nice. Do you want some? Izuku asked Shinso. Isn't that a pricey cafe? Is that really okay? Plus, the line is very long. Shinso protested. Don't worry. It's my treat. You just wait here. K.
זהו דריזי.
Shinso couldn't help but just look on. Must be nice being a rich kid. He whispered to himself. Since he's gonna take a while, maybe I should go find somewhere to sit. Shinso thought. As he was looking around, he was caught off guard when someone suddenly hanged their arm around him. He was annoyed, of course, but that annoyance soon turned to pure and absolute terror when he heard the person talk. What a coincidence meeting you here, T. Tamura. Shinso's eyes were wide with fear. Let's go have a seat, shall we? Shinso couldn't do anything but just follow. All he could do was be mindful of the man's bare hands dangling a few centimeters away from him. Took a few minutes, but they finally found a vacant bench. That's a nice outfit you got there. It's not like your usual ones. Shinso tried to casual talk, albeit just so he can calm his nerves even a little bit. I assume my brother is nearby. Can't let him know I'm here since I'm supposed to be abroad. Tenko answered. But let's get to the point, shall we? Shinso gulped. Without a doubt, the location of your boot camp will be changed. The heroes will probably take precautions to hide it from us. Maybe something like decoy buses or the like. Tenko explained. So what do you need me to do? The purplet asked. Tenko smiled, and with his other hand, he took out two small button-like objects from the pocket of his jacket using just 3 fingers. Keep one of these transmitters on your person the whole time. And on your 3rd night at the boot camp, stick the other one on Katsuki Bakugo. Tenko instructed him. Katsuki Bakugo? Why? Do you really need to know? Tenko said in an aggravated tone. Shinso immediately understood and didn't push further. This whole time, Shinso has been wary of the man's hands. But the sudden curiosity hit him, and from the corner of his eyes, he tried to get a good look at the man taking him hostage at the moment. They look nothing alike. They're nothing alike. I can't believe someone like Izuku would be brothers with this monster. I assume my brother is nearby. Can't let him know I'm here since I'm supposed to be abroad. Tenko's words from a moment ago echoed through the purplet's mind. Then the thought came to Shinso. About Izuku dash. The moment Shinso spouted those words, it was as if a venomous snake made its way around his neck and is now baring its fangs at his face. All he felt at that moment was Tenko's killing intent. Tenko glared at the purplet with his red eyes. His hand that was hanging from the boy's shoulder moved its way up to grab the boy's chin. He doesn't know, and I hope you help keep it that way. Tenko's words made it seem like he was asking, but it was an order. It was a threat. Shut up or you're dead. Then from a distance, they heard someone called, Shinso. Taking that as a cue, Tenko swiftly left, not seeing that it was actually his little brother. Shinso remained wide-eyed and pale from that interaction. He buried his face in the palm of his hands, taking deep breaths in an attempt to calm down. Shinso, the purplet flinched and looked up. It was Izuku. Are you all right? Who was that guy earlier? Izuku asked as he looked over at the direction where Tenko went. Don't worry. He's not that important. Hey, is that mine? Shinso immediately changed the topic. He stood up and immediately grabbed one of the cups and chugged down the contents, leaving Izuku confused. Come on. Let's go meet up with the rest of the class. Shinso said. Izuku was still confused, but he simply nodded and went along. Shinso? Shinso? The voice was a bit muffled. No better and just shut up. Shinso's eyes snapped open after hearing that man's voice in his dreams. Shinso drew sharp breaths. He never said those words outright, but that was what he really meant. That man truly is horrifying. Shinso, the purplet with horrified eyes, looked over to the person who said his name. But the sight of those green eyes and green hair immediately calmed him down. Hey, are you okay? Izuku asked. I'm sorry. I couldn't sleep much last night. Shinso said while rubbing his temples. You look like you just had a nightmare. Izuku voiced his worries. Don't worry about it. Anyway, is it another stop? I already went to the restroom a few stops ago. Shinso asked. Yeah, but this one's different. I think we're here. Aizawa-sensei said everyone has to get off now. Izuku explained. Oh, Aizawa-sensei, everyone's off the bus. Izuku reported to their teacher. Good. Shota simply stated. Then he turned to the direction of two women. He gave a nod as if to say, it's your turn. It took a moment, but even before they could introduce themselves, it's the Wild Wild Pussycats, a 4-person veteran hero team that specializes in mountain rescues. Here we have Mandalay with the quirk, Telepath and Pixie Bob with the quirk, Earth Flow. All eyes were on the greenette that fanboyed over them. It was an awkward moment for the rest of 1A, but Izuku was proud, until he felt a sense of dread lingering over him, and a large paw landed on his head. He looked back to see Pixie Bob giving him a death glare. You could have waited until we actually talked, you know? She told the boy. Immediately, Izuku started apologizing profusely. Now then, let's get to the business at hand. Mandalay went back on track. About a few kilometers away from here is where you will all be staying. Lunch will be served at 12:30, so you have about 3 hours to get there. Otherwise, no food for you. Got that? Of course, you can use your quirks to get there faster. Mandalay explained. Wait, then does that mean dash? All right, go! Before Izuku could confirm his theory, the land below the 1A students suddenly went soft, and down the side of the mountain they go. Use your quirks. All right? Pixie Bob reminded them from above. Okay. Guess that means the training camp has begun. Izuku thought. Damn it! Shinso exclaimed. What is it, Shinso? Izuku asked. My capture scarf is in one of my bags. Shinso answered. Then from afar, thanks to one of Izuku's quirks, he heard something moving in the forest. Izuku pretended to remove dirt from his face, so he could cover his eyes and prevent anyone from seeing them changing appearances. Activate quirk, Bird's Eye View. I think that'll be the least of your worries, Izuku whispered as he deactivated the quirk, but Shinso understood some of it. Come on, we only have 3 hours. I want to eat, one of their classmates exclaimed. Then all of them started running into the forest. Izuku grabbed Shinso's arm and led him to a different route from the others. Tenya, Shudo, Achiko, come with me. Izuku then called the rest of his friends. The 3 then followed. Above the cliff, the 3 pro heroes watched as 1A charged into the forest. Oh, did I forget to tell them the name of this forest? Mandalay suddenly realized. It's fine. In the field, you won't know what the enemy has in store. You just need to be prepared, Shota stated. Mandalay then turned her attention to the little boy that has been with them all this time. Kota, don't go too near the cliff or you might fall. The little boy simply looked on at the forest, unimpressed by the students. Where are we going? Shudo asked as the 5 of them ran. Pixie Bob's quirk lets her create earth beasts. There's probably 7 to 9 around here. Izuku explained. 7 to 9? How do you know? And where are we going? This route is longer than the route the rest of the class is taking, Achiko asked. Exactly. The rest of the class is taking the shortest route. The route the beasts are guarding. If we can go around them, we can fight in our favor, Izuku explained. I see. Good thinking, Izuku. Tenya praised the greenette. Where did these things come from? Mina exclaimed. They're probably Pixie Bob's quirk. Remember, Izuku mentioned it earlier. Momo answered. Wait, where's Izuku? Shudo and Tenya too. Everyone focus. We need to beat them so we can move forward, Momo said in a commanding tone. Half of them immediately made teams with their friends. Koji, try to use your Ani voice to control them. Momo commanded. It's not working. I think it's because they're not animals. Koji explained. Mizo, Kyoka, how many are there? Momo asked. The two immediately went to work and used their quirks. About 7, excluding the 2 beasts the others just brought down. Mizo, the others are handling the 4 on both sides but dash. Before Kyoka could finish her report, 3 beasts suddenly appeared in front of them. Momo gritted her teeth. Suchan, Hanta, try to immobilize them. Yes, ma'am. Roger, Karo. Wait. Mizo stopped them. I'm getting a message from Izuku. His hand extended and turned into an ear. He says throw them up. They'll handle the rest. He added, all right, do as he says. Mina, Kyoka, Toru distract them. Tsuyu, Hanta get to work. Momo ordered. Acting as decoys, Mina, Kyoka, and Toru ran around the beasts to distract them while Hanta used his tape to wrap them. Afterwards, Tsuyu grabbed Hanta and brought the both of them up the trees. Once there, Hanta and Tsuyu worked together to bring the beasts flying. A few meters away was Izuku's group with Achiko was sitting up a tree as the watchman. When she saw the 3 beasts that Momo's group sent flying, she immediately informed those below her. Everyone, now, here it goes, Tenya. Without a second to waste, Shudo made one of his heaven-piercing ice walls towards the direction of the beasts, letting Tenya ride it. Afterwards, Izuku activated his quirks on his legs. Together with Shudo, he jumped up to the direction of the beasts. Once they were in the air, Izuku threw Shudo forward. The ice wall has also reached its end, but Tenya had already gotten enough momentum to shoot off towards the beasts. Izuku cocked his 40% powered arm, and in unison with his 2 friends, the 3 of them destroyed the 3 remaining beasts, maneuvering themselves to land safely on the ground just in front of Momo's group. 3 hours, RS. We've been there all day. After finally getting out of the beast's forest, the entire Class A was exhausted, hungry, and out of breath. Some have already collapsed to the ground. Hey, everyone, do you guys want some food? Pixie Bob calls to them from the distance. The very mention of food woke something in the students, and all their eyes were burning red at Pixie Bob's direction, almost frightening the pro-hero. Even though they all collapsed just a moment ago, they were still able to gather enough energy to run towards the food like hunting predators. But once they started eating, they all returned to their normal selves. This is so delicious. I feel like I was revived. The students were all celebrating. To tell the truth, we were expecting you guys to arrive around midnight, Mandalay said as she took a seat besides the female students. But you guys did a great job handling my clay beasts. Pixie Bob commended them. Where's that green-haired boy? The one that interrupted our introduction, Pixie Bob asked. Everyone immediately turned their heads towards an eating Izuku, making him flinch. Yes, ma'am. After realizing I might have prepared clay beasts, you casually mentioned my quirk to warn your classmates, and then going around the long way to prepare a surprise attack. You really surprised me, Pixie Bob told them. Izuku first swallowed his food, then answered. Actually, I only realized that there were earth beasts after you sent us down. Then when Shinso mentioned he left his capture scarf, I prioritized getting him out of harm's way. It was only then that I planned out our attack to save the rest of our classmates. Eh? So you left the rest of your classmates to fend for themselves? Pixie Bob pointed out, which made Izuku froze. And not really. I knew they were all capable of beating the earth beasts on their own. They even had Momo to help them coordinate. Izuku reasoned. Oh yeah, there was that one girl. What an amazing leader. Where is she? Pixie Bob looked around. Momo simply raised her hand to indicate where she was, and then she bowed her head. Thank you very much. As Izuku continued eating, Mandalay suddenly appeared behind him. Izuku, correct? Izuku immediately turned around. Yes, ma'am. What's your quirk? The question made Izuku freeze a bit. It's called Power Limb. It's a type of strengthening quirk. Izuku told her the answer he's memorized and told other people dozens of times. Really? I thought you had a quirk similar to mine because even though you were far away from your classmates, you were still able to cooperate with Miss Yairozu's group. Mandalay stated. That was thanks to Mizo's quirk. All Izuku had to do was relay instructions. Achiko explained. But how did you even know the circumstances their group was in? Had there been different players available or more beasts than you anticipated, your plan might have backfired. Mandalay pressed on. Izuku was caught off guard by the pro-hero's questions. What do I tell her? I simply assumed. No matter who were present or how many beasts were there. As long as Momo gets my instructions, it would have worked out fine. Izuku said in a monotone voice. I see. Then from the building, out came Aizawa-sensei. After you lot finish eating, go bring your bags to your rooms. They should be at the side of this building. There's also a hot spring. Take your time to rest and relax because tomorrow, you won't have the time. After Izuku and his friends finished eating, they went to where Aizawa-sensei said their bags were, all while stretching their bodies. It's actually been a while since I went forest training. I forgot how exhaustingly exhilarating it is. Izuku mentioned. Forest training? How does that work? Shinso asked. It's actually very similar to this one, except I had to outrun Maki in the forest. Izuku answered. Maki? Asked Achiko. Maki is a friend of my dad. He has a mutant-type quirk which makes him look like a literal mountain man. Despite his size, however, he's still very agile, so my dad always has him handicapped during training. Izuku explained as they grabbed their bags. As they walked towards the building's entrance, Izuku noticed a little boy watching their classmates eat with a scowling face. If I remember correctly, he was also there at the stop. I wonder if he's the son of one of the pussycats, Izuku thought. Izuku then made his way near the child. Hey there.
I'm Izuku.
The greenette introduced himself. Is your parent a member of the pussycats? The kid turned to him and frowned. Then, as if he had a premonition, he immediately backed away, in time to dodge a punch the kid sent towards his crotch. However, due to his fatigue, Izuku wasn't able to correct his balance and thus he fell on his butt. Hey, that's not nice, Izuku exclaimed, which caught the attention of the students and the pro-heroes. I don't plan to play nice with idiots like you who want to be stupid heroes, the boy harshly stated before he walked away. Rude brat, Shinso said as he helped Izuku get on his feet. Mandalay immediately ran towards the greenette to apologize. I'm really sorry. I'll go talk to him later.
No.
No, it's fine. No damage done. Izuku chuckled, but as he walked with his friends to their rooms, he couldn't help but think about the boy's statement. So he hates heroes, huh? At the hot springs, the students couldn't help but simply melt into the water as they felt its soothing effect on their stiff bodies. Izuku, who hasn't been in one for years, felt heaven and almost drifted to sleep before Tenya pulled him up and chop-mondayed. Chop plus reprimanded him for his carelessness. For a moment there, I actually thought your family had your own hot springs resort, Shinso stated. I proposed the idea to my dad and brother, but they said I might end up using it after every training session and get too comfortable, and that I won't be able to progress. Izuku explained. Shinso was hit with a sudden realization. That's right. Izuku's brother and dad are Tamura and All for One. They're villains. Hey, why did your family let you enter the hero program? Shinso suddenly asked. Izuku looked on with a confused look. I mean, from what I heard, your family isn't the biggest fan of heroes, so why did they let you? Shinso clarified. Oh yeah, I wondered that too.
Joe.
Explain. Their other classmates joined the discussion. I never really put much thought into it. I just thought it was because I kept pestering them about it. Izuku smiled sheepishly. The oldest memory I have of telling the two of them that I want to become a hero is probably one of me in an improvised All Might costume. I remember my dad looking a little hesitant, but he still gave a smile and told me it looked good on me. After that, I reminded them occasionally, but it was mostly memories of me training, a few discussions about quirks and heroes, and more training. Izuku paused a bit, then continued. Actually, I can't remember why all my training started or if they ever really outright told me the reason if they didn't want me becoming a hero, but I'm very grateful because then I got a recommendation letter from UA. Even though both of them disliked the idea, Dad was still supportive, unlike Tenko, who took every chance he has to voice his worries and convince me to reconsider. But even though he acts like that, I know he wants me to be happy. Izuku's explanation seemed to have come to an end. Shinso couldn't help but somehow look at the greenette with pity, knowing that one day, he might have to learn the truth about his family. How he might have to face them in battle, or worse, give up his dream of becoming a hero. Is that what he's scared of? Shinso grimaced at the thought. Good intentions or not, they should have just told him. The thought of someone having to give up their dream because of the circumstances they're in makes his blood boil. At least, if they had told him sooner, then it wouldn't be as devastating for the Greenette as it will be. Meanwhile, as Izuku was talking earlier, there was actually one more listener nearby, sitting on top of the wall behind Izuku that was separating the baths of the two genders. Kota had been listening intently, leaning forward a little bit every time to hear more clearly. However, in his latest attempt at leaning forward, he accidentally slipped. Wah! Kota let out a cry as he fell. Half his way down to the ground, the sound of a loud clap echoed through the air, and Kota immediately flew back up the height of the wall. On his way up, he was able to get a glimpse of who was responsible for the clap that saved him. The Greenette he failed to land a critical hit on earlier. But once he reached the climax of his flight, he accidentally looked over to the other side of the wall, the side belonging to the girls. The sudden revelations were enough to immediately made him faint exactly as Izuku caught him on the air. Good. Caught him, Izuku thought. Huh? Did he pass out from the fear of falling? He asked. Hey! I'm going to bring this kid to the pussycats. Izuku told the rest of the males before he left. Thank you for saving Kota, Izuku. Mandalay thanked the Greenette as he set down the boy onto the couch in her office. So his name is Kota? Is he your son? Izuku asked. No, he's actually my nephew. Mandalay answered. Oh, so where are his parents? What are their jobs? It's not that common for heroes to be the ones acting as a child's guardian, Izuku pointed out. Mandalay's face turned hesitant. Actually, his parents are dead. They were the water hose who died 2 years ago in the line of duty.
Izuku flinched. Sorry.
That's actually the reason why he hates heroes. To anybody else, they died as true heroes, but to Kota, who was too young to understand, they left him and abandoned him for their jobs. Mandalay explained. Had Kota lived a normal upbringing, he would probably be aspiring to become a hero. She added. Izuku bit his lips. I can't blame him for having such views on heroes. Izuku could only say, piquing the pro-hero's interest. My brother's quirkless, which limited the opportunities he could have had. He was still lucky to have our family's influence and a job waiting for him in the family company. But I couldn't help but think it might be one of the reasons he and our dad hated the concept of heroes. There will be people in the world who carry such resentments towards heroes, and not all will have the same opinion as us. Izuku clenched his fists. But for someone as young as Kota to have them, the thought shouldn't even cross their mind. It was 5 a.m. when the loud sounds of metal banging echoed through the room of 1A's boys. Come on, young heroes, it's time for your training, Pixie Bob yelled out in conjunction. The suddenness of the sound so early in the morning immediately sent the boys flying out of their beds and out the room. Except for one. Hey, 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 it's time for training. Pixie Bob repeated her banging now nearer the Greenette. Hey, hey. Pixie Bob called out again, but then the Greenette simply turned to his other side and went deeper into his blanket. Damn it, Tenko. It's 5 a.m. Stop that noise. Training starts at 7. The Greenette mumbled, leaving the pro-hero speechless. Titenko? Who's that? Then from behind her came Aizawa-sensei with a frown. Izuku, who thought he can finally return to his peaceful sleep, was suddenly surrounded by Aizawa's capture scarf, bound along with his blanket, now fully awake. Training starts at 5:30. Unless you want to skip breakfast and train vigorously with an empty stomach, then be my guest. Aizawa said flatly. Why yes, sir. I mean no, sir. I wish to eat first. Izuku stuttered. Good. Aizawa stated as he started walking out the room, while carrying the still-bound Izuku with his capture scarf. This is okay, I guess. Izuku sighed in his mind. It wasn't okay. It's now 5:30, and Izuku is still bound in Aizawa-sensei's capture scarf. He had to eat while in such an uncomfortable state. A few of their classmates, and especially Shinso, could only laugh at his state, while Tenya simply added insult to injury when he chop-manded him as they ate. Before we begin, may I ask what kind of training you lot think you're going to go through? Aizawa-sensei asked the students after they finally lined up. Kaminari. Aizawa called a name after a few seconds of no response. The blonde, of course, flinched. Isn't it the same as the training we go through at school? Only much stricter. Denki could only muster what Aizawa could call a half-assed answer. Their teacher sighed in disappointment. Tell me, how much do you think you've progressed? He asked. Then he called a name. Eirozu. Sir, compared to before we started going to UA, we've definitely gained experience and have grown as seen during the exercise yesterday. We were able to coordinate more efficiently and… Before Momo could finish, Shota interrupted her. How about your quirks? The question took Momo aback and left her speechless. Tell me, compared to your first day when you had that quirk test, how much has your quirks grown? Aizawa asked. That is. Momo couldn't give an answer. Through all that you've went through during your first semester, you've definitely improved mentally and technically. However, your quirk growth is nothing to be proud of as it is non-existent. Aizawa explained. In this training camp, you will work to upgrade your quirks. Then Aizawa gave them that sick smile of his. Be prepared because we will put you through the ringer. The entire one felt shivers crawl up their spines. As Shota watched as his class all dispersed to get into their stations, he heard from behind him the voice of a boy he never forgot. Aizawa-sensei? As for you, Shota said as he finally released the greenette. You're a different case from the rest, since you've already unlocked the full potential of your quirk. The greenette immediately started stretching his body and doing warm-ups as Shota assumes he always does during his own training sessions at home. But that's where the problem lies. Shota's words piqued Izuku. He then brought out a piece of paper. From what your brother told me and from what is written on this paper that your doctor provided, it would appear that you might have mastered your quirk prematurely. Shota explained. Your body cannot handle the stress of going full power every time, which is why instead of your quirk, we're going to work of your body instead. Izuku looked on with confusion. But sensei, we've already tried everything to help my body to get used to full power. Nothing has worked. Shota frowned. From what I understand from these notes, you've trained your quirk ever since it manifested, correct? Yes. Most of your training was for using your quirk. Yes? Yes. And then after finding out the drawback of your quirk, you trained while using a weaker power in the hopes of letting your body get used to the stress over time, yes? Yes. Then tell me, have you tried training just your body once in a while? Izuku was taken aback. And no, I don't think so. Shota sighed. The problem with your approach on making your body cope with the power of your quirk is that you're rushing. Shota grabbed onto his capture scarf, letting it float and tense up. Do you know how long it took me to master this tool of mine and combine it with my fighting style? If I remember correctly, 6 years. Shota cut the greenette off. And not once did I try to rush it because some stuff doesn't need to be rushed. Izuku felt as if he was enlightened to the realization. So for your training, I want you to sprint, do push-ups, do curl-ups, climb up a cliff, whatever it is you can do around here, but don't use your quirk in any of them. Izuku took a deep breath and yelled, Yes, sir. Shota couldn't stop a smile from forming as he watched the boy run, lit up by the hope that one day, he may be able to use his full power again. Now then, Shota turned around. I apologize for making you wait. He told the purplet that was standing behind him, the boy's own capture cloth floating and tensing. One kick and the purplet was immediately sent flying meters away. He immediately tried to get up, but first he had to catch his breath. TCH. He cursed. I know I just told your new friend that he should take it slow with training his body, but that advice shouldn't be the same for you. Aizawa told him. Compared to the rest of the class, most of whom are halfway done with the lap, you've only just begun the race, still a few feet away from the starting line. Aizawa explained as he walked towards the purplet. If you plan on getting your provisional hero license next semester together with them, then I suggest you pick up the pace. I know Thayet. Shinso yelled as he charged towards his teacher once more for the 40th time that morning. He sent punches, kicks, and his scarf towards the pro hero, but to no avail. Shota was easily able to dodge every single one of them. Then, after the purplet had sent multiple attacks, he simply kicked him away. Then the cycle repeats. After the 45th charge, Shota finally said, Maybe we should get you an easier opponent. Someone you might be able to catch up with. In the meantime, Try to work on your speed and stamina, Shota said as he walked away. Shinso was left there panting as he wiped the sweat on his face with his hands. I had to outrun Maki in the forest. Shinso remembered Izuku's story from yesterday and it gave him an idea. Then he looked around for the blue pussycat. A few hours later, the entire 1B was walking through the forest, finally near their destination. What? 1S there already? Nito exclaimed, upset that 1A beat them to the site already. Yes, as we're walking and talking, I'm sure they're already going through the vigorous training you lot will also go through. Vlad King explained. But sensei, the only pro heroes there are you, Eraserhead, and the 4 pussycats, right? How will just the 6 of you manage the training of 40 students? Itsuka asked in curiosity. The pussycats' quirks are well suited for covering large areas and managing multiple people. Pixie Bob, to note, can easily manipulate the earth to make excellent partners in training, like the one running towards us right now. Exactly as Vlad King said those words, 1B felt the ground tremble as if something was running towards them. Move! They heard a voice yell. Following that voice, they saw the newest addition to 1A running towards their direction at top speed. When they couldn't react fast enough, the purplet decided to jump over them, stepping on Nito to extend his jump further, albeit at the expense of the psychopathic blonde. A few seconds after Shinso jumped over them, an earth beast jumped over them as well, making all of them duck. What the hell was that? That was dangerous. I see. So he's working on his stamina and agility, Vlad noted as he watched the earth beast get further and further away. Come on, you lot haven't seen anything yet. That statement ended up being true when they finally reached the training site. It was like watching teenagers torture themselves. Some of them were puking, some were on the verge of tears, and you can almost hear their bodies begging them to stop. But what caught the attention of some of 1B was a certain greenette on top of an almost 50-meter-high pillar of earth, switching between his 2 hands every 3 seconds while doing a single-hand handstand. Sweat dripping down his exposed torso. Hey, is that even safe? Not one bit. Now then. Vlad King's voice made 1B flinch. Why don't you lot join them? After what felt like eternity, their first day of training finally came to an end. I feel like I'm going to die. I can't feel my arms. I'm so tired. I don't even want to move anymore. I don't ever want to see another one of those beasts in my life. The combined complaints and groans of the 2 classes almost made the pro heroes laugh. Come on. Don't rest yet. There's still one more thing to do. Mandalay told them via her quirk, making all of them react and say in defeated unison, Nanny, /n. The Japanese word is better for the situation. Mandalay simply smiled and said, You guys have to cook your food, silly. Food. The very mention of food immediately woke them up, so it has the same effect on both classes. Pixie Bob thought. The 2 classes worked together to make curry enough for all them plus seconds. After such a long day of torture, vigorous training, they felt joy as they worked together to cook a wonderful meal, not knowing that joy won't last the whole week. As both classes were all enjoying the curry they cooked, Izuku couldn't help but notice Mandalay looking around, seemingly looking for someone. Mandalay, is something wrong? Izuku approached the pro hero. I haven't seen Kota in the past hour. He hasn't eaten yet. Mandalay told the teenager. Oh, if it's Kota, I think I saw him walk into the forest while I was training. I might know where he is. Izuku told her. I'm already done eating anyway. I could bring his dinner to him. Really? Thank you, Izuku. Mandalay said as she handed him a plate with food. Izuku gave a smile. While what he told her wasn't a total lie, since Izuku did saw Kota earlier and he does know where he is, thanks to his bird's-eye view quirk, the real reason he took on this task was so he could talk with the kid in private. Using bird's-eye view at night is a bit tricky, though, since he's not able to see well during the night due to the dark, one of its drawbacks. Also, while this quirk is active, he can only see from above, which only makes it useful for locating, not much for while locked in combat. The center and clearest in this view is his location, and the further away from the center, the more blurry it gets. The furthest away where you can still ascertain what's there is approximately 700 meters. Took a while, but Izuku finally got to the cliff where Kota hung around. Hey! The greenette greeted, slightly surprising the child. Mandalay told me to bring you food. How did you even know I was here? The boy snapped. I used my tracking quirk. Izuku said in a joking tone. Can I sit with you?
No.
Get lost. I don't need food from a stupid guy who likes to play hero.
Kota retorted.
Izuku looked at the boy with worry. Why does everyone like playing heroes? They'll just end up getting hurt and then dying. Or if they don't die, they just end up being sad the rest of their lives because they can't play hero anymore. What's the point? Kota stated his thoughts, but it only made Izuku giggle. What's so funny? Kota asked in annoyance. Nothing. You just reminded me of two people I know very much. Izuku answered. Izuku then sat on the edge of cliff but still kept some distance from the child. He then looked up at the sky. The night sky looks beautiful tonight. That statement made Kota look up as well. Kota, do you know that I'm supposed to be as powerful as All Might? The question caught the child's attention, but he did not reply and simply glared at the teenager. Izuku looked down at his fist, with pride in his eyes. My dad even told me that with my quirk, I could probably beat the number 1 hero someday. Then the greenette's eyes went sad in just a matter of seconds. But every time I hear that, my thoughts always go back to my brother. He's quirkless, you see. Izuku frowned. Even though I have this kind of power, every time I think about how hard he must have had it, I can't help but be disappointed in myself because I can't share this powerful quirk with him. Izuku then looked over at Kota. My dad and brother. They're the two people you reminded me of. They both hate heroes like you because my brother was born quirkless in a world full of quirks. And heroes constantly remind them of that. If I could be a light for people who's going through what my brother did, then I'll be a hero for them, just like All Might is. That's why I want to be a hero. Izuku explained, then gave Kota a warm smile. Kota continued to glare at the greenette. So, Izuku was taken back by the child's reply. Was I supposed to learn something from that story of yours? Kota stated plainly.
Sorry.
Izuku would only muster up those 2 words before he stood up in embarrassment. I better go. I still have some training to do tomorrow, Izuku said, and walked away a bit flustered because of the unexpected response he received. Kota simply glared at him as he left. Stupid. It's now the 3rd day of camp and both classes are eating their breakfast before another day of vigorous training. Although 5 students were very visibly fighting the urge to let their faces fall flat onto their food. The 4 failed students from Class A and Nito, the only one who failed from Class B. The 5 of you, Shota's voice made them flinch. I expect none of you to be taking any more rest this morning. No matter how tired you all still are, I expect the same level of enthusiasm in training you had as yesterday. Why, yes, sir. The 5 students answered in unison while thinking Tartarus is probably better than this place. However, while sitting together with Izuku, Shudo, and Shinso, Tenya couldn't help but notice that the greenette had barely even touched his food, and that it was like he was in a daze. Izuku, Tenya called him out with an air chop, snapping the greenette out of his daze. You should eat. We have a whole other day of vigorous training. We wouldn't want you passing out from hunger. Izuku simply chuckled. Is something wrong, Izuku? You've been staring blankly since last night. Shudo asked while giving Shinso the side eye. The purplet noticed this and immediately defended himself. I haven't used my quirk on him at all. As if I would do something so stupid. Shudo simply gave him a look that said, I'm watching you. His 2 friends' interactions made Izuku laugh, but his thoughts immediately went back to what it was before. Izuku, Shudo pressed on. He gave a weak smile and tried to answer, Don't worry, but immediately backtracked and said the truth. I tried talking to Kota last night. For what? Shinso asked. Izuku sighed. You know how he hates heroes? I tried talking him out of it. For someone so young to have such a bad view on heroes, even though his parents were one, it just shouldn't be the case. Izuku stated his thoughts. I've seen that kind of hatred in my brother, how that hatred grew as years went by. I don't want to see it happen again. Izuku said, clenching his fist. The mention of Izuku's brother made Shinso look away and simply continue to eat. From the way you're acting, I assume it had no effect? Tenya asked. Izuku nodded and voiced his frustration. I don't get how it didn't work, Shudo hummed as he thought. Well, Izuku looked at his friend. curious as to what he had to say. Well, maybe it's because you're just a stranger to him. Shudo answered, but it didn't seem like Izuku got the hint. Shudo sighed. To him, you were probably just a stranger that decided to take it upon yourself to talk him out of his belief. No one in their right mind would take the word of a stranger. You need to show him. I agree with Todoroki. Actions speak louder than words, as they say. Shinso stated. Yeah, but... Izuku pointed at the purplet. We never talked before the finals. We were practically strangers. But you believed in my words, didn't you? Shinso almost choked on his food. Well, that was different. You spoke to me, didn't you? That was enough to show me that your words were sincere. Even though you were terrified, you still gathered the strength to speak to me. And when you did, Shinso almost said, you were the exact opposite of your brother. But he caught himself. Shinso paused for a bit, then continued. There was no ounce of fear in your voice. Shinso's words made Izuku smile. I'm glad they actually reached you. Shinso snickered at the greenette's cheesy line. But now that you mention it, he did something similar to me at the sports festival. Shudo said while looking up in a thinking pose, capturing the attention of the three other teenagers. He also did something of the sort during that time Tensei and I wound up facing Stain. Tenya added, Oh, Shinso said in an amused tone and with a smirk. Seems like someone has a habit of poking his nose wherever he smells trouble. Poking his nose? Shudo asked under his breath. It means he likes to meddle. Tenya clarified to the bichromatic. Izuku chuckled nervously. I can't help it. It stuck to me after Tenko said a quality of heroes is being meddlesome. Shinso almost spit the food in his mouth, but he stopped himself, making him choke and cough a bit instead. Shinso, are you okay? The greenette asked in concern. Shinso simply chuckled it off. And no, I'm fine. Shinso told the greenette that to not make him worry, but his words had actually reminded him of that man's threat. Shinso gulped. He felt the phantom of those hands on his neck and on his face again. Shut up. I need to shut up. Shinso thought repeatedly. I didn't think we would be in such a similar circumstance so soon. The greenette and purplet thought as they stood meters away from each other. In terms of combat skills, Shinso is only below you by about 40%, compared to his difference to me of 80%. Aizawa said, referring to Izuku. However, since you're more adept and had spent more time training and utilizing your fighting style with your quirk, I'd say that difference has been lowered to 30%, which makes you an easier but still formidable opponent for Shinso. Aizawa stated as sweat dripped down Izuku's face. Don't even think about going easy on him because he's your friend. If I even sense that you two will be joining Miss Uraraka and the other failed students tonight. He threatened them. /N. Tenko could only wish TVT. Shinso, the same as yesterday, try to land a hit on Izuku. Izuku, I expect you to not use your quirk. Aizawa reminded them. That was the plan in the very beginning anyway. Izuku thought, remembering the time back during the sports festival. All right, begin. Shinso immediately charged towards his friend, sending punches his way. But those punches proved to be futile as the greenette easily deflected them to the sides. Shinso cursed in his mind. Then Izuku sent a high kick towards the purplet, which the latter narrowly avoided by taking a few steps back. The greenette then doubled down with another attack, spinning his body then bringing his other foot down for another kick. Shinso could only cross his arms in an attempt to stop the powerful kick. Izuku may be shorter than him, but he's definitely more well-built and weighed more, making it difficult to push him back. He also couldn't use his feet to sweep the greenette's other leg off the ground, since they're the ones bracing him at the moment. No choice. Shinso had to retreat for a while and put some distance between the two of them. The two of them glared at each other during this little break in exchange as they wiped the sweat from their brows. TCH. Easier opponent, my ass. The only difference between him and Aizawa is that he's actually letting me touch him and he's actually exchanging attacks with me instead of letting me chase him around and then him doing a finisher move after a while. Shinso thought. But Shinso was caught off guard when Izuku suddenly ran towards him and started sending kicks, giving him no choice but to move back every time to dodge the attacks. Another thing, Izuku's fighting style right now is vastly different from when he uses his quirk. Instead of throwing punches, He uses his hands to smoothly deflect his opponent's attacks, only using kicks as his main attacks. Shinso noted, it's likely that he's using his legs since they have more reach, compensating for the range he usually has while using his quirk. It's ingenious, actually, Shinso thought. If you didn't know about it before, you would definitely be surprised. He doesn't know, and I hope you help keep it that way. He was suddenly reminded of that man, making him lose focus for a second, letting one of Izuku's kicks hit him square in the face, sending him flying. Shinso! Izuku cried with worry as he ran towards his friend. That's right, it's the same for the circumstance he's in. If you didn't know that his brother and father were actually villains, you will definitely be surprised that someone aspiring to become a hero like Izuku is actually related to them. Shinso reflected as he wiped the blood flowing from his nose. Of course, it also goes both ways. If you had no idea that All for One's youngest was going to UA, you'll be shocked once you learn of his existence. Shinso remarked, I'm so sorry, are you alright? Izuku asked as he helped the purplet get on his feet. Don't be sorry. It's my fault I lost focus, he told the greenette. But that really hurt. You really weren't holding back, Shinso said as he checked if blood was still flowing from his nose. Answer, it still was, as I had hoped, Aizawa said in a serious tone. Now, go back to your starting positions. If you think you're getting a break just because one of you got hurt, think again. Yes, sir. The two boys answered with different levels of enthusiasm. Then Izuku proceeded to walk a few meters away. Keep one of these transmitters on your person the whole time. Tamura's instructions echoed through the purplet's mind, making him touch the button-like transmitter he is stuck on the inside of his shirt's collar. And on your third night at the boot camp, stick the other one on Katsuki Bakugo. Tonight's the third night, Shinso whispered under his breath. He couldn't help but wonder why they would want Bakugo. What do they even need from him? He doesn't know, but there's one thing he's almost certain. Just like during that paparazzi and USJ breach, he's helping the League of Villains cause another incident for UA. An incident that's going to happen tonight. So Pixie Bob's voice captured the attention of the students as they were cleaning up after dinner. Who's up for a game? A game? I love games. If we can relax while doing it, then I'm game. The mostly positive responses Pixie Bob received were like music to her ears, perking her up and making her smile wider. All right then, let's play a... Pixie Bob paused for a dramatic effect. A test of courage, she excitedly revealed, but the students merely looked at each other in confusion. It will be Class A versus Class B. Both classes will take turns being the scare-airs and the scare-es. Pixie Bob enthusiastically started explaining. Ragdoll, who the author had forgotten to include until now, will be waiting at the far end side of the scaring route with cards you must retrieve to prove you went through the forest, meaning no one can cheat. Pixie Bob was full of glee, but it quickly died down when she wasn't getting the full excitement she was expecting. Then she had an idea that made her smile mischievously. The class that scares the most students wins, and the losers, she giggled menacingly, will have to join the failed students in their extra lessons for the rest of the camp. The punishment made the students immediately perk up, but not as much as, mwahahahaha. You heard that, Class A. The loser has to go through Aizawa's extra lessons. We're going to scare you so bad. You're going to be pissing yourselves till the morning. The psychopathic blonde was suddenly bound by Aizawa's capture cloth like a cocoon, preventing him from finishing his speech or getting away. I hope you didn't forget you have those extra lessons tonight, Mr. Monoma. Your Class A counterparts are already there, Aizawa bluntly told him, making the blonde's eyes go wide at the realization that he won't be able to participate. Nito started squirming violently while inside Aizawa's scarf cocoon, all while letting out incoherent screams that were muffled by the cloth. MM. MMM. M. He tried his best to break free, but alas, it was in vain. The muffled screams only getting less loud as Aizawa dragged him back to the building. But the sight was enough to make everyone laugh. All right then. Mandalay put her hands together. Class B will be the scarers first. Please go now to the forest. And as she said that, the Class B students started walking into the forest, saying their goodbyes and good lucks to the Class A. A pair will enter the forest every 5 minutes. Then Mandalay took out a small piece of paper. I will now announce the pairs. Shinso looked around to search for the explosive blonde. When he finally spotted him, he clenched the transmitter he's holding inside his pocket. The purplet started walking towards the blonde, trying not to act conspicuous, which was easy because the rest of the students were also walking around, trying to find their partner for the game. Bakugo paired with Hanta. As Mandalay said that, Katsuki looked over to the purplet and started walking towards his direction, making the latter flinch. Did he notice me? Wait, no. He probably saw Hanta behind me. I just need to continue walking. Shinso calmed himself down and continued walking towards the blonde. When they were finally near each other, Shinso, on purpose, bumped into the blonde and stuck the transmitter on the latter's shirt.
Sorry.
Shinso simply said to cover up his intent.
No.
It's okay, Katsuki said in a calm manner. Midoriya. Shinso flinched, thinking Mandalay was referring to the older brother. Paired with Hitoshi, Mandalay continued, making Shinso relieved. He then checked if his transmitter was still on him. Answer, it was. And lastly, Todoroki, paired with Yaoyorozu. Mandalay finished. Shinso then started looking around for Izuku. As he walked past his other classmates, he couldn't help but simply apologize to them in his head. Hey! Shinso greeted his friend. So we're partners again, aren't we? Izuku laughed. At least, I didn't have to beg this time. The statement made Shinso laugh, but the smile immediately disappeared. He then sighed and looked up at the sky. Izuku noticed and followed suit. It's beautiful, isn't it? The brunette asked, making his friend look at him. We're looking at the past right now, Izuku said with a twinkle in his eyes. A time when quirks haven't existed yet. It all looks so calm and serene. I hope we can all enjoy feeling like this. The brunette's words made the purplet wince and look away.
I'm sorry, Izuku.
Next pair to go into the forest, Midoriya and Hitoshi. They heard Tiger announce. /N. Also forgot to bring up Tiger earlier. A few minutes into the forest and the pair still hasn't encountered any of the 1B. Maybe they're just further in? Izuku thought. As they continued to walk, it grew more and more boring as it seems like only the sound of cicadas are what they'll be encountering for a few more minutes. Shinso stole a small peek at the brunette when a perfect question to kill some time popped into his head. So, why do you want to become a hero? Izuku looked at his friend as if asking him to clarify. I mean, what's the reason you wanted to become a hero in the first place? What set it in stone? Shinso explained his question. Oh, I wanted to become a light for people, like how all might is a pillar of society. Izuku answered, but he noticed that it didn't seem like the answer his friend was looking for, so he gave another answer. Well, that was my first reason. But what made it solid for me was when our dad disappeared for a year and couldn't come home since then. Shinso wasn't expecting that answer. Disappeared, Izuku explained, due to troubles in the family business? Our dad couldn't contact us for a whole year and we thought he was dead. He ended up not dead and communication resumed afterwards, of course, but it just wasn't the same as having him there in the house with you to hug, hold, and talk in person to. I cry every time I ask when he would be back, Izuku said, his eyes starting to water, but he braced himself. It's a horrible feeling, being separated from your loved one for so long, and we can never bring back those lost times. But that's why I want to become a hero, so I can make sure that no one else gets separated from the people they love, and no one else has to go through that sadness like I did. Shinso had no idea that Izuku had to went through something like that. He didn't know what to say. The only thing he thought he could do for his friend was to pull the brunette into a hug. /N. I swear I'm not shipping them at all. This is just what I think most people would do after hearing such a story. Izuku was taken aback, for sure, but he just accepted it. After letting all the bottled-up sadness in him out, the first thing he'd want is a hug. Then suddenly, his tears finally burst. After a long while of not crying, he finally broke again. Shinso simply let his friend cry it all out as he rubbed the boy's back to comfort him. After a few minutes of crying, Izuku finally calmed down and they continued their walk through the forest. Thank you, Shinso, said the brunette as he continued to wipe off the tears on his face. Don't mention it. Shinso smiled. Then the purplet thought of another question, one he's sure won't produce the same waterworks. But what if you weren't planning on becoming a hero? Then what do you think you would be doing instead? Izuku chuckled a bit as he continued to wipe his face and thought, well, I'd probably just end up working in the family business. Izuku answered with a smile. Shinso's eyes widened at his friend's answer. He grabbed the greenette's shoulders and asked him, with a serious look, do you even know what your family does? But then, Shinso backtracked and let his friend go, simply choosing to avert gazes. Shinso's terrified face shocked and confused Izuku. He had no idea why his friend had such a reaction, but before he could ask, they saw smoke coming from deeper within the forest. Then, attention, all students. It was Mandalay and her quirk. We are under attack. Please return back to the campsite. Shinso, did you hear that? Izuku asked, to which the purplet answered with a nod. Then Izuku heard another message from Mandalay, but it didn't seem like another widespread message like earlier. It seemed like he was only getting it because of one of his quirks. Kota, if you can hear me, please go back to the campsite now. I don't know where you are and I'm busy right now, but there are villains in the area. Please stay away from them. Izuku checked to see if Shinso was looking away before using his bird's eye view quirk. And as he expected, Kota was on the same cliff he was at when they talked. But his eyes soon widened as he saw a cloaked figure come out from behind the rocks and start walking towards the little boy. Izuku, we need to get out of here. Shinso's voice made Izuku immediately deactivate his quirk. But Kota, the kid, I'm the only one where he is. He may be in trouble. Shinso, go back to the campsite first. I'll follow back once I get Kota. I promise. Izuku told his friend. Okay, stay safe, Shinso said before running back. The truth is, he's not that scared of what might happen to Izuku. There's no way he'll let his little brother get hurt. After Shinso was a good distance away, Izuku activated Power Limb on his feet and started heading towards Kota's location, unaware of the fight awaiting him. Kota, hang in there. I'll be there in just a second, so please, no way. Izuku's eyes widened as he saw the villain remove his cloak and mask through his bird's eye view. That villain, I recognize him. He's the one who murdered Kota's. Damn it. I won't get there on time with my speed. Activate quirk. Doppelganger. As Izuku ran, suddenly an exact clone appeared right beside him. Then the two of them stopped in their tracks. The Izuku clone started activating every muscle augmenting and strengthening quirk they have on his right arm. Then he grabbed the original Izuku's legs. Aiming for the direction of the cliff, the clone threw Izuku with all his strength, making him fly at an incredible speed. Within seconds, he was immediately able to see the cliff and the villain with his own eyes. He activated 50% of Power Limb, then cocked his arm back for a punch. Get away from him! At the League of Villains hideout, Kurogiri watched as All for One's eldest child walked out of the inner door, almost with a smile on his face, then took his usual seat in front of the counter. On cue, Kurogiri brought out a glass and started pouring liquid into it. Afterwards, the man proceeded to play with the liquid, swirling it inside the glass. Curious of his behavior, Kurogiri sought to ask, Tamura, Kurogiri, please, call me Tenko while it's just the two of us. All for One's eldest corrected him with a smile. Oh? Then is Tenko in a good mood tonight? Shouldn't you be worried for your little brother? He will be caught in the crossfire in their little camp, after all. Kurogiri pointed out, but he only received a snicker. I've thought about it after my little spat with Dabi. But that little video that had me stressing about Izuku may actually be his little ticket to safety. /n. Say CK right now. Oh? May you care to explain? Kurogiri asked. It hit me when Mr. Dabi mentioned it, but everyone that approached us saw that little video and idolizes Stain. They respect his words and will. Tenko couldn't help but let out a small laugh and a confident smile. They respect Stain's words. He repeated himself. Kurogiri, if my father said he admires a person, would you wish to harm them? Kurogiri's glowing eyes widened, finally realizing what Tenko meant, making the latter smile. That's why I'm confident no harm will come to my little brother. And as a bonus, I now have a reason to get him out of UA. He said with a smirk as he watched liquid swirl around the glass. Has he ever actually drank the liquid? The question popped into Kurogiri's mind. I see. That's why you were very casual when you mentioned Izuku during the last briefing. as if you were certain they don't need to be reminded, Kurojairi said, making Tenko's smile a bit more wider as he continued to observe the liquid. Kurojairi looked on, but a thought came to his mind. However, that one word was enough to immediately make the eldest's smile disappear. However, Tenko asked as he gave his caretaker a glare. You were also confident that he won't get involved during our attack on UA's USJ, as well as when we fought the Shai Hasaikai at Hosu, and yet he was. How are you certain it won't be the same this time? Tenko grimaced, continuing to glare at his caretaker, but the latter was not fazed. Did Daruma program sarcasm into you just to aggravate me? He asked.
No.
Not that I'm aware of. I was simply trying to prove a point. Kurojairi answered as he continued to wipe the glasses with a cloth. Tenko scoffed. Had your quirk not been as vital in operations as it is, I would have traded you for Adohira instead. Why, thank you, Kurojairi gleefully replied, squinting his glowing eyes and tilting his head slightly, certainly annoying Tenko. TCH, I'll get Daruma for this. Tenko cursed under his breath. Izuku took sharp, deep breaths as the debris started to subside. With his left arm, he wrapped the little boy beside him in a protective way. Then he looked at his right arm that was shaking violently and starting to feel numb. The same arm that the clone used full power on to fling him to the cliff. Even though it was only a clone, he could still feel the burning sensation he would feel had it been him who used that amount of power. It didn't help that he also used the same arm to send that punch towards Muscular. The little boy noticed the teenager's arm as well, and could tell that it was hurting so bad. Come on, Kota. I gotta get you back to Mandalay, Izuku said as they turned around, making Kota walk on the side farthest from Cliff, his right side. And where do you think you're going? Izuku's eyes went wide at those words. Immediately, he activated every hardening and reinforcement quirk he could on his left arm on such a short time. But it wasn't enough, so he, along with Kota, was sent flying towards the side of the mountain. Thankfully, he was able to use his body to cushion the child, but the surprise attack was still able to break the greenette's left arm. Izuku! Kota cried in worry. And no way. He was able to withstand half of Power Limb's full power? He's almost as powerful as a handicapped Maki? Izuku thought. Don't worry. I'm fine. Are you all right? He tried to hide the surprise in his voice. Why are you worrying about me? You're going to get killed. We're going to get killed. He's going to kill us like how he killed my parents. Kota started to let out tears. Izuku forced a small laugh. Don't worry, Kota. I'm not going to let him hurt you. I'm going to protect you. Kota's eyes went wide at the teenager's statement. Oh, I recognize you. You're that little guy Stain likes. The villain let out a menacing chuckle. As all the dust was finally settling down, the villain's appearance with his quirk was revealed. I gotta admit, you got me good. That was a powerful punch you had there. The villain then flashed a sadistic smile. Let's have some fun, shall we?
Muscle augmentation.
It's a quirk Izuku has multiples of, because it's the closest he could to replicating All Might's own quirk. Because of that, he knows its strengths and weaknesses like the back of his hand. And right now, he knows very well, I can't beat him and protect Kota at the same time. All I can do is buy enough time to. Before Izuku could finish that train of thought, the villain sent a punch in the two boys' way, Izuku only barely able to evade and put more distance between them. I see. So we have the same quirk. Haha, this'll be interesting, the villain said in a menacingly enthusiastic tone.
Kota, Izuku whispered.
I'm going to buy some time for you to escape, so once I tell you to run, I want you to book it. Okay? Kota's eyes widened. What about you? How are you going to beat that monster? TCH. That's exactly why I want you to run. At my current state, I have no chance. Izuku cursed in his mind. The greenette forced a smile. I told you already, didn't I? I'm as powerful as All Might. But why? Why are you? Kota asked in his mind. To tell you the truth, the villain caught the two boys' attentions. Tamura told us not to harm Stain's little favorite because he wouldn't want that. The villain chuckled. But like hell I'm going to do that. Not now that I've learned you're the same as me. Izuku immediately snapped back. I'm not the same as you. I would never use my power to do any wrong. I'm going to be a hero. The villain immediately started laughing at the greenette's statement. You won't do any wrong. Ah, in this world, those who win are the ones who are right. And those who die are wrong. I never joined the League of Villains because I wanted to follow Shigaraki or Stain. I joined because I want to fight. Fighting is all I want to do. So come on, boy. Why don't you give me your best shot? Kota, run, now. Izuku said as he pushed the little boy away and started activating 50% of his power limb combo on his right arm, which was already aching at the time. Activating the quirks on his legs, he charged towards the villain with his cocked back super arm. But the villain didn't try to evade the incoming attack. The force of the impact went past the villain's body and even started destroying the part of the cliff behind him. Izuku pulled back his arm once more and delivered the same attack, albeit weaker than the first due to the pain. Izuku couldn't help but grimace. That's all I can do. Activate quirk. Impact recoil. Izuku started activating every hardening and reinforcement quirk in his arsenal in preparation for the villain's attack. What? That's it. Ha 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 ha. The villain sounded excited. Now it's my turn. Izuku braced himself. From his right side, Izuku could feel the villain's attack land, making him wince. But what he didn't expect was he's breaking through impact recoil. Izuku was once again flung back to the side of the mountain. This second time was enough to make him cough blood. Izuku fell on his knees as he drew multiple breaths while staring at his arms. He broke through impact recoil. So he is as strong as a handicapped Maki. Both his arms were now broken. His right arm was already aching so much even before he threw his first punch. Add in the pain from using 350% attacks, it was like that time after he fought Stain. It's already going numb, but at least Kota should now be. Izuku, watch out! The greenette's eyes went wide just as he felt a powerful smash fall down from above him. He was able to activate his defensive quirks at the nick of time, thanks to that warning. But, mwahahahahahahahaha. Looks like it's all useless. All that effort for nothing because the brat is still here. Ha 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 ha. The villain started taunting him. God, kid. I thought we had the same quirk, but no. Your quirk is much more. I actually had difficulty pushing that hit onto you. Ha 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 ha. I'm going to enjoy killing you. Ha 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 ha. The villain said as he readied another smash for the grounded greenette. Stop! The cry and a splash of water made the villain do so. The greenette and the villain both looked over at a now crying boy. Did you also enjoy killing my parents, you monster? The little boy asked between his tears. Ah, I remember your parents now. Haha, they really gave a fight. Too bad they died already. Ha 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 ha. Don't worry, after I finish this little hero wannabe. You're next. As he heard those words, the sound of mirrors breaking echoed in Izuku's mind. People with powerful quirks that don't use them are useless. Don't let other people know you have many quirks. Okay, I want to become a hero because I want to make sure no one gets separated from the people they love. Give them back, as if I'll let you lay a finger on him. Out of thin air, a yellow gem-shaped barrier appeared around Kota, catching the villain off guard. Then from the heavens, lightning came striking down on the villain, electrocuting him enough to render him unable to make sudden moves, as well as capturing the attention of everyone at the site. Then a huge wave of water and molten lava crashed onto him from both sides, both reaching tall heights that it could be seen from afar, then solidifying to ice and to rock at the same time, thereby trapping the villain. What's happening? He couldn't help but cry out. His eyes then went wide as he saw the greenette stand up, surrounded by black lightning with a green glow. Lightning strike can make lightning hit any target within the user's 100-meter range. Water cycle allows control of water in its 3 phases within an area. And lava flow quickly turns the earth I touch to lava, thereby making it into an effective and dangerous weapon. Their eyes met, and he could feel the malice flowing through those eyes. It was as if he was looking at the eyes of a Shinigami. Who is this kid? His body couldn't move in fear. The greenette gritted his teeth and clenched his left fist like it wasn't broken before. You had no right, the greenette said as his voice cracked. In a blink of an eye, he suddenly appeared in front of the villain. his right arm swelling and twisted in appearance after activating power limb beyond full power. You had no right to take away his parents from him like that. At point blank, Izuku landed his super punch on the villain, breaking the ice and rocks that bound him, and blowing even the rest of the mountain behind him away. The sound of bones breaking throughout the villain's body and the teenager's arm could be heard even inside Kota's barrier. The little boy started crying as he watched the teenager's arms go back to normal, but still have a twisted look to them, likely because he had pushed himself. Why? Why would you want to risk your life? He asked himself. Because Kota. The little boy's eyes widened as he remembered a memory of his parents he had almost forgotten. We risk our lives to save people because that's what they need in a world full of uncertainty. To have someone you can expect to help you get through when you're not sure. If I could be a light for people who's going through what my brother did, then I'll be a hero for them, just like All Might is. That's why I want to be a hero. Mom, Dad, Izuku. Thank you, the boy said as his tears continued to flow. Izuku. Kota cried from inside the yellow barrier as he watched his new hero fall to his knees. Izuku was thankful for his concern, though, because the little boy's voice was enough to remind him to stay awake. Izuku then looked up at the sky as he continued to breathe deep breaths. He couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. I can't believe just earlier I told Shinso I hoped everything would stay peaceful. I hope he's okay. The greenette then stood up and walked towards Kota, making the barrier disappear as he got nearer. He kneeled in front of the boy and asked in a soft and tired voice, Kota, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Me? What about you? Your arms are busted. Idiot. Kota said in an almost tsundere fashion, but it just made Izuku smile, knowing it means he's fine. Don't worry about my arms, Izuku said, still with a soft voice. This is bad. I'm getting sleepy. I'm sure the doctors will be able to fix them in no time. He told the boy, come on. I got to get you to Mandalay. I'm sure she's worried, Izuku said as he turned his back towards the boy, planning to let him ride on his back as they run back towards the site. But then he realized that it might become uncomfortable for Kota, since he wouldn't be able to support him with his arms. Wait, I've got an idea, Izuku said. Then he took a deep breath. With whatever strength he could muster at the moment, he lifted his left arm. And as it went higher, something looking like silk appeared in his hand. Here, the greenette handed the silk-like cloth to the boy. Tie yourself onto me so you won't fall, okay? The boy wanted to ask questions first but decided against it and simply did what he was told. After he was securely in place, Izuku stood up. Okay. Let's get back to the campsite. Izuku then activated one speed quirk on his feet. But before that, hey Kota, let's keep what happened a secret between us. Okay? I'll explain later. The little boy nodded, at first with uncertainty, but his nods then became sure. Thanks, Kota. As Izuku ran through the forest, making sure to avoid any villains, he suddenly heard voices in his head. Hey, isn't this that boy Stain likes and Shigaraki said to not touch? I'm touching him. I'm touching him. Izuku could feel someone poking his cheek. Then Izuku remembered, that's right. I forgot to make my clone disappear. I was so focused on rescuing Kota that I lost control of him. I'm gonna have to get him back later. He probably fought someone and passed out. Anyway, just leave him. He's not one of the targets. Who are the targets again? It's that exploding boy and that purple guy that scared this guy. The person's words immediately stopped the greenette in his tracks. Izuku's eyes went wide. That was the last thing he heard from the two people on the other side. A Shinso? What would they want with Shinso? Damn it. I need to find him before they do. Izuku immediately resumed his run, but now going on a sprint. Izuku? What's wrong? Why are you suddenly in a hurry? Kota asked as he grabbed on Izuku tighter. I know what they want now. They want my friend. I need to tell the heroes. Izuku answered the boy's question. Izuku. A certain person called, making Izuku stop immediately. Aizawa-sensei. As Aizawa ran nearer his student, the more he saw the current state of the greenette's arms. His left arm had a visible bend in the middle where there shouldn't be, and it's become a deep shade of purple. And his right arm, it almost didn't look like an arm anymore. It was a violet mangled mess. You almost couldn't tell what was muscle or what was skin, or if the skin was still there at all. /n. I'm waiting for the day his body finally gets fortified. Izuku, your arms. Don't worry about that, sensei. They're numb at the moment, so I'm okay, but more importantly, I think I know why the villains are here. Aizawa wasn't expecting that it would be Izuku to say this information. You know? How? We heard it earlier from the villains. They're after Shinso and Katsuki. Izuku told him. Shinso and Katsuki? Why? Aizawa was a bit skeptical. Then he turned to Kota. Is this true? Kota was a bit taken back that he was being asked, but simply nodded anyway. I see. Go take Kota back to the building and stay there. I'll go look for your classmates. Aizawa ordered him, then proceeded to leave, even before Izuku could protest. TCH. I need to find Shinso, Izuku thought as he continued to sprint towards the building. I repeat. You, Thorais, Kamba, Tarj, Itush, Kugo. Izuku could only understand muffled bits of Mandalay's message using one of his quirks as he started to gain consciousness. Then he stood up and started brushing off the dust on him with his left arm, since his right arm is currently out of order. I gotta find Shinso before the villains could. He thought. Then a familiar voice yelled, Izuku, watch out! Just in the nick of time, Izuku was able to activate speed quirks on his legs and dived aside, thereby evading what looked like a bunch of blades going on a rampage. He then hid behind a tree. Izuku! The greenette heard someone whisper shout his name. He looked over to the direction of the voice to find Shudo with an unconscious Momo. Making sure not to make any sounds that could capture the attention of the villain, Izuku ran towards his friend and classmate. When they were finally together, only then did Shudo notice the deep red color of his friend's arm. Izuku, your arm. We need to bring you and Momo out of the forest. Don't worry about me. My left arm is still fine. I can still fight. Izuku assured his bichromatic friend. You can worry once you see my real body. Izuku thought. Right now, we need a plan to watch out. Izuku pushed himself, Shudo and Momo out of the way exactly as blades extended towards their direction. IH found Hayu, the villain said as he revealed himself through the trees. Split up, Izuku told Shudo as blades continued to extend their way. The bichromatic tried using his ice to hinder the blades, and the greenette activated hardening quirks on his body. But to no avail. The blades were easily able to break through the ice, and after a while, it started chipping away at Izuku's hardened body. He can try and send a clap to displace the aim of the blades, but he can't use his right arm, and it's likely it wouldn't even be effective. A surprise punch towards his way is a better option, but it'd take too long to release, and by the time he could release the attack, the villain would have already noticed him and changed the trajectory of his blades to attack. We also need to protect Momo. I need to think a plan, fast, Izuku thought. Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, the original Izuku dashed through while leaving trails of green lightning, as he gave Kota the explanation he owed. No way! You can get as many quirks as you want, Kota exclaimed from Izuku's back as they ran through the forest. Yes, but I don't get to choose what quirk I'm going to get or when I can get it. It'd be helpful if I could. Then I can just wish to get a healing quirk. It would be really helpful right now so I can go look for Shinso with my clone. But why keep it a secret? With your quirks, you could be the most famous and most powerful hero. I'm kinda jealous. Kota pouted. Exactly, Kota, Izuku answered bluntly. Having more than one quirk is rare and can make a lot of people jealous. Out of their jealousy, they might end up telling lies to put me down, like I steal quirks or something. That's what happened to my dad before. It's much safer to just show and use one quirk. But why that ugly quirk you keep using? It hurts when you use it, right? Kota asked. Why, you shouldn't call a quirk ugly. Izuku chuckled nervously. And I told you before, right? I want to be a hero like All Might. The greenette reminded. Then he continued. Also, I find his quirk interesting. His quirk isn't just a simple enhancement one. His attacks aren't just an enhanced, they're much more. I've analyzed countless quirks before and have figured out how most of them work, but All Might's quirk, I just can't explain it. I tried my best to replicate it with the quirks I have, but even after trying multiple combinations of starkly different quirks, I still couldn't come close. At the moment, Power Limb is the closest I could ever be to achieving the same power as his quirk. Also, it's what's registered as my quirk, so hee. Izuku said jokingly after what he thought might have been a boring talk for Kota. Took a few more minutes, but Izuku and Kota were finally back at the lodge where they saw Vlad King standing guard outside. You're Aizawa's, what on earth happened to you? The pro hero was shocked. Never mind. Anytime now, that pesky villain will be back. Get inside immediately. And don't even think about going back, said the pro hero, and he sent the two boys inside. You can put me down now, Kota said when Izuku still continued to carry the boy on his back. Oh, okay. The greenette kneeled down and let the little boy untie himself. When he finished, the greenette then stood up and tried to stretch his back. Kota simply looked at the greenette's hands and remembered the thing that he told Izuku a day ago. They'll just end up getting hurt and then dying. Or if they don't die, they just end up being sad the rest of their lives because they can't play hero anymore. Hey, Izuku? Kota said in an almost quiet voice. Yeah. The greenette looked at the little boy. I just want to say thank you again. For saving me, Kota told him. Izuku smiled and kneeled down in front of him. I told you, it's what heroes do. And I'm sorry. The little boy's sudden apology surprised Izuku. Why? You shouldn't be . But I do. Because you got hurt. And you might not be able to fight anymore because your arms are busted, Kota said as he was in the verge of crying. Izuku knows this well, of course, but still, he flashed a warm smile at the boy. I told you, didn't I? I'm as strong as all might. This is nothing at all. I'll be good to go after a trip at the doctor's, so don't feel sorry, okay? Izuku cheered the little boy up before they continued to where his classmates are taking their extra lessons, where he also got the usual shocked expressions. Izuku, where are you going? Achiko asked the greenette, heading out the door. I'm going to find Shinso. He's still out there. Izuku suddenly fell on his knees. Izuku! Exclaimed his classmates as they came to his aid and had him sit on one of the chairs. The pain had finally caught up to him. Wait here. I'll go get the first aid kit on the other room, Denki told them before leaving. Izuku, you need to rest. Your teacher already said he'll find him, right? You already did a lot, Kota told the greenette. Kota's right, Izuku. I'm sure Aizawa-sensei will find Shinso, Achiko assured him. So please try to rest, she pleaded. Izuku looked into the brunette's round eyes and he saw sincere worry for him. He couldn't help but sigh. Fine, I'll just have to leave finding Shinso to my clone. The greenette thought, damn it. Impact recoil would be very helpful right now, but I overexerted my real body at that last fight. Even this body is affected. Izuku cursed in his mind as he watched the villain continue to patrol the area while he hid behind a tree with Momo. The greenette then activated his bird's eye view quirk. The two of us isn't enough to beat that guy. We're running out of time. I still need to find Shinso, Izuku thought as he looked around. Then he found two of his classmates, Mizo. Fumikage. Mizo, can you hear me? Izuku whispered, hoping he could be heard. If you can, just answer back.
Yes.
H, how are you? That's not important right now. Me and Shudo are in a tough spot. I need you and Fumikage to meet us 15 meters south of where you are. Tell Fumikage and Dark Shadow to prepare themselves for battle. Izuku checked if Momo was still unconscious before hiding her behind some bushes and putting a yellow barrier around her. Izuku then came out of his hiding spot, which surprised Shudo. Then he sent a clap to the villain to grab his attention. H-A-Y, I'm over here. There's flesh here, he yelled while raising his red right arm. There Hayu Hari. The villain made a 180 and started heading towards Izuku. Shudo, Momo's fine. Come with me. We'll need you for this plan. Izuku immediately activated speed quirks on him and called for his bichromatic friend. The latter didn't take his time and immediately came out of his own hiding spot. Shudo asked as they ran towards the appointed rendezvous point with Mizo and Fumikage. It took approximately 20 seconds. Mizo and Fumikage were hiding behind the trees. The moment Izuku and Shudo ran past them, Fumikage sent Dark Shadow to subdue the teeth blades of the villain. Fumikage, hold them still for a few seconds, Izuku told him as he and Shudo stopped running and turned to face the villain. Shudo, restrain his body with ice, the greenette ordered. Crackling of Shudo's ice could be heard while Izuku activated power limbs on his legs and jumped up to a few feet above in front of the villain. He then cocked his left arm back and sent a super punch with enough force to break the blades in ice and render the villain unconscious. Shudo then encased the villain in ice again. Thanks for the help, you two. Izuku thanked Mizo and Fumikage. Then he immediately asked, have the two of you seen Shinso?
No.
I don't think I have. Fumikage answered. Izuku turned his attention to Mizo, really hoping he, at least, got a glimpse of him with his quirk, but Mizo shook his head no. Damn it! Izuku cursed. If I'd known the villains wanted him, I wouldn't have left him alone. Don't blame yourself, Izuku. Let's try to get back at the lodge. He might already be dash. No, he's not, Shudo. He's still somewhere in the forest. Izuku cut him off. Of course, he knows Shinso's not there. Otherwise, he would have deactivated this clone already. I just hope the villains haven't got their hands on him yet. Izuku said under his breath. We'll continue to look for him. Mizo, you'll be our eyes and ears. Keep your senses out for Shinso and for villains. Shudo, guard our rear. Fumikage and I are the vanguard. Izuku instructed them. Come on, let's move out. Two members of the attacking villain group made their way through a part of the forest. One was a masked villain with notable measuring tape bands on his wrists, and the other was a man with burn marks. Although something felt off about the latter. Hey, Dobby Double. Are you sure the targets are here? Answer me, you idiot. The masked villain demanded. Could you shut up? You're the one who lost your tracker, and you even made this faulty double. Don't ask me. The villain named Dobby told me. Hee, sorry. Don't blame me. The masked villain contradicted himself. It was then that Dobby noticed something and immediately sent flames toward his six, which a bunch of students were able to evade. They noticed us. The bichromatic stated. It's okay, we just need to get their tracker. No doubt, it will lead us to where Shinso is. The greenette noted.
Le gasp.
It's that sleepy boy earlier. Did you have a nice sleep? You shouldn't have been sleeping earlier, you slacker. The masked villain contradicted himself again. The greenette visibly tensed up. Oh, did you want this thing? Dobby held the tracker up as if teasing the students. The four tensed up. Well, you have to fight me to get it. The Dobby clone told them before sending out another attack to the students. The students immediately evaded. Hey, I thought we shouldn't hurt the green kid. Burn him to ashes, Dobby, said the masked villain. Dobby looked at him, slightly annoyed, but because of this, he couldn't react fast enough to the sound of crackling and was trapped in ice. The masked villain expressed worry. Ah, Dobby, that's what you deserve, but contradicted himself again. Shit. The Dobby clone cursed as he started to turn into mud, shocking the students. The students, however, didn't have much time to assess what just happened before a voice came from the transceiver attached to the masked villain and said the words they didn't want to hear so soon. Vanguard Action Squad, targets acquired. Head to the rendezvous point immediately. The greenette's eyes widened. They were too late. No, they're still here. I can still get him back. Izuku yelled in his mind before charging towards the masked villain. The masked villain was caught off guard by the greenette's speed. Gah! No, you don't. Then he immediately made two more Dobby doubles. Dabies, take care of them while I make my escape. I'm sorry for forsaking you. The masked villain contradicted himself. Blue flames immediately made Izuku put some distance between him and the villain doubles. You're not going anywhere, one of the Dabies told them. Izuku scowled. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the story. Let me know your feedback in the comments, and tell me when I should release the next part. Until then, peace.